From Metamora Township High School in Metamora, Illinois, we welcome you to this presentation. Tonight, the Metamora Redbirds play host to the visiting Washington Panthers alongside Larry Larson. I'm Matt Harrington. Larry, our very first ever volleyball broadcast here on Clutch Sports Media, and what better way to start it than two Mid-Illini conference rivals going at it?
Yeah, of course, Matt. It doesn't get any better than the Washington-Metamora rivalry. It doesn't matter which sport. We talk about it all the time, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, softball, volleyball, you name it. They're all competitive. Both teams are going to bring the juice tonight.
They absolutely are, and taking a look at these two teams with the visiting Washington Panthers first, they started the season 1-2, Larry. They've only played 5 games so far. They've turned it around and won 2 matches in a row here over Prairie Central and conference opponent Canton. So it's been a much better start for the Panthers.
Oh, it certainly has. Anytime you can win back-to-back matches and start to right the ship a little bit, you'll be in good shape. And they won those 2 straight matches just at the right time, headed into this Metamora matchup. Metamora, of course, a very good volleyball team as well. And Matt, the thing that jumps out to me in those 2 straight wins for Washington is they didn't lose a set. You know, they beat Prairie Central 2-0, and then they beat Canton 2-0. So should be fun.
Should be fun indeed. And then meanwhile, the Redbirds of Metamora, 3-1 on the year, and they also had a couple of nice wins as well down the stretch here. They beat IVC, very good IVC team, and Pekin as well. So they've won 2 matches in a row as well.
Yes, indeed. That IVC win is a big one of the best small schools for volleyball in the state of Illinois this year. A 2-0 win versus Dunlap, and the one stain on the record is that loss to Morton. Morton, usually pretty good at both volleyball, basketball, you name it. So the Redbirds also coming into this one with momentum. You got to figure that these two teams are contenders in the MIC.
Indeed they are. We're going to have the national anthem here in just a moment. You're watching a presentation of Clutch Sports Media. We'll be right back from Metamora and Washington.
Good evening, volleyball fans. On behalf of the Metamora administration and the Board of Education, we welcome you to tonight's volleyball match featuring the Washington Panthers and your Metamora Redbirds. Please stand and face the flag for the playing of our national anthem.
Back at Metamora Township High School in Metamora, Illinois. We're just about ready for this volleyball match between the Redbirds and the Panthers. And Larry, both of these teams, of course, have gotten used to playing under these limited fans here. But with being in a small gym like this at Metamora, and you still have some fans in attendance, when we walked in here, I mean, it was so loud. I think we're going to see more of that here this evening with the varsity contest.
Yeah, of course. You got the freshmen and the sophomore squads in the gym to watch this match, in addition to whatever parents you have in attendance, and it's going to get loud. That was the case before the pandemic, even when there were fans allowed, and teams would make the majority of the noise. So not much is going to be lost. The atmosphere is going to feel a bit like the pre-pandemic era.
Indeed it will. We'll go over the starting lineups now for both of these teams. For the Panthers, they're going to roll with Georgia Duncan, Sammy Schultz, Quinn Gillespie, Jory Reagan Dowling, Claire McDougall, Kendall McKinley, and the libero for them will be Delaney Davis. We'll get the Metamora starting lineup here in just a moment. But a couple of impact players, Larry, on this Washington team, and we've seen it on the basketball court with Georgia Duncan.
Yeah, of course. Duncan, a multi-sport athlete, a name that so many know around the area. Claire McDougall as well, the 6-foot sophomore, is going to be an impact player in the middle, in addition to the libero, Delaney Davis. We talked to Dawn Davis, head coach for Washington, before the game. She had good things to say about her entire starting lineup. She's excited for what this team has to offer. A very young squad, only one senior.
Yeah, one senior indeed, and she was talking about how they're still kind of learning on the fly, and they like where they're headed at right now, but it's certainly going to be a learning experience, especially being pushed into a spring season like this and like where you would play in the fall.
Oh, certainly. It's an adjustment for everybody, to say the least.
So the starting lineups for win over Washington now for Metamora. They'll be with Sophie Adams, Victoria Hall, Dylan Camp, Esma Frieden, Kelsey Todd, Kayla Pasha, Hannah Teller, and as well as Emily Cronkite wearing number 21 for the Metamora Redbirds. Again, best of 3 sets between these two teams, and if we get to that third set, it will be a 15-point affair compared to a 25-point one like we would see here in the first and second sets. So we'll wait for the officials and get ready to roll.
I think the officials are looking at the lineups, making sure everything's all set before we get underway here.
Nice thing too, Larry, is we've got a big scoreboard right to our right with looks like they've been keeping track of the kills, so that will be helpful for later in the broadcast. Underway as the Redbirds will send it over. Set here by the Panthers. Dug out in the back row by Pasha. That one goes off the hand, and that'll be a point for the Redbirds as the visitors strike first.
Yeah, Metamora coming up with the good attack there. Washington just couldn't get enough block on it. So the Redbirds start with momentum.
Todd with the serve. Handled in the back by McKinley. Blocked at the net by the Redbirds as they keep it alive. That one rolls right off the net, and then another point for Metamora.
Yeah, Hannah Teller right there to win the joust, so to speak, with the opponent. Battle at the net. As soon as you see that ball nearly scrape the rafters, you know it's going to get interesting right at the net.
Todd will be on the serve again here for the Redbirds. Kill attempt off the net, and that one falls. That time it's Claire McDougall using her 6-foot frame to slam down the point.
Matt, I think we're going to call her name a lot tonight. You saw on the opening attempt for the Panthers, they tried the slide attempt with her moving to the outside. We're going to see that a lot tonight.
Redbirds trying to strike here. Nice kill there on the outside. Looked like Pasha that time, once again, another basketball player.
Yes, Kayla Pasha, a multi-sport superstar at Metamora. Basketball, softball, and volleyball, of course, this season, you name it. She's going to be in on the action.
Gets quiet in here.
I believe it was a mask timeout, so to speak.
Back underway. Panthers sent it over on the free ball by McKinley. That one off the hands of Schulte at the net, and another point for the Redbirds. We're off to a nice little start here, Larry.
Yeah, they are, Matt. Rolling with momentum. We saw this kind of in the freshman and sophomore matches. Redbirds came out and captured momentum early. We'll see if they can keep that going.
That one just a bit outside as there's an attack here by Schulte. What a good idea, even though she didn't get the point.
Tried to go down the line there, just ran out of a little bit of room.
5-1 lead here for the Redbirds in set number 1 on Clutch Sports Media. McKinley sends it over. Now free ball dug out there in the front by Schulte. McKinley again, that one goes off the antenna. And so another point for Metamora.
Yeah, a little bit of a bad pass there, trying to go cross court. Washington tried to find McKinley, and she was off balance. You could tell. I saw that pass come off the hand, and I thought, oh, man, it's coming towards us.
Teller on the serve and tapped over nicely. Good heads-up awareness in the front there by the Redbirds, and that's Frieden with the point.
She was right there, ready to put down the free ball. Few too many of those if you're Washington early on here.
Been a very good start for Metamora. So they'll send it over. This time Duncan. Now Redbirds have it. This attempt will go back. Duncan will dig it out. Panthers tap it over off the hands of Victoria Hall. And Washington with a much-needed point to stop that run.
A little bit of a finesse shot there by Schulte, and it really worked out.
So Panthers will go back and serve. Tarina Jones, the freshman, to serve it away for the Panthers. And a service ace. Nice job to let that one fall, or get that one to fall, and Washington picks up their second point in a row.
Yeah, a little bit of a float serve that just died at the end, almost like a sinker.
Jones on the serve once again. That's received by the Redbirds, and that one will fall. The attempted dig there by Delaney Davis, the libero, but another point for Metamora.
Nice job by the Redbirds to side out there. They really placed that kill well in the back row, and like you said, Davis with the diving effort, just not enough.
Redbirds on top, 8-3 here in set number one. McKinley almost gets it to fall in the back row. Blocked at the net, off the hands of McDougal. Panthers have it now. Duncan. Once again, dug in the back. That one goes off the Panthers' Quinn Gillespie, and a point for the Redbirds.
Pesha with a big swing there. That's what happens when you put a lot of power on an attack. It just jammed up Washington a little bit.
First time out here of this set. 9-3 lead here for the Washington Panthers. Larry, we were talking to head coach Dawn Davis before the game, of that, of course, being Washington's head coach. One thing she said is Metamora just comes with a consistent attack. I think we're seeing that here early on in this first set.
Yeah, certainly. She said that the Redbirds don't make mistakes, and that's not common for high school teams, to say the least. So we've seen that early on. Steady attack, and they know who to get the ball to, and early on it's been Kayla Pesha who's really kind of lit up the scoreboard with 3 kills.
Again, 9-3 the score. Metamora has controlled the tempo here in this first set, and we'll see if they can keep it going. Panthers off the serve, and that one just out of bounds, barely. A little bit of hesitation there from the officials, but it will be a point for the home team, the Metamora Redbirds.
Man, McDougal just missed that one a little bit too strong.
Received by the Panthers, and this is going to be a point here for Metamora. That extends their lead up to 8.
Double hit on the Panthers there, and not good momentum for them to start this one. Whenever you have unforced errors, you know, it's not just good attacks from Metamora, it's just a number of errors from Washington. That's momentum killer.
Duncan off a hand at the net. And this will be a point once again for Washington. And not sure if you saw that at all, Larry, but it looked like right up in front of the net there might have been some contact.
Yeah. Either way, the Panthers, it was going to be tough for them not to pick up that point. Free ball. They were right there. They were ready for it. Finally some momentum going their way. We'll see if they can keep it.
Doty will serve it over here as the Redbirds send it too far. And once again, another point by Washington, maybe building some of that momentum you were just speaking of.
Yeah, you want to talk unforced errors? Now it's Metamora's turn, I suppose, and Adams going just a little bit too far, trying to go cross court.
Doty on the serve just gets it off the net. A little bit of a miss hit there, but dug out by Gillespie. Duncan taps it over, and a nice dig by Peplow. Sent over. Jones, the set here, and a nice kill right at the front of the net by Jory Reagan Dowling.
She was ready, and that middle attack is strong for the Panthers. Dawn Davis, she talked about her outside hitters, but she also made sure to mention those middles, Reagan Dowling and McDougal, really strong.
Doty on the serve once again. On the outside, off the hands there of Gillespie. proven to be too much, and another strong kill there by Metamora.
Yeah, it was. That's the first kill of the evening for Sophie Adams. Man, you could hear that one probably in the hallway.
Cut into that a little bit, and they'll add another point here. Just a little bit of miscommunication as that one falls.
Matt, before the game, we've mentioned our conversation with Coach Davis. One thing she mentioned is Metamora hits the ball hard, and that is one thing that we have seen a lot in this first set.
Indeed we have, as the Redbirds will try and get it here. Adams, and that one mishandled in the back row there by Doty, and once again you see Sophie Adams making an impact here on the offense.
Oh, absolutely. They're feeding the hot hand. You know, Metamora's got a lot of players who are capable of slamming home kills. It's just a matter of, you know, who's feeling the rhythm.
Duncan with a good kill as it was mishandled on the air there by the Redbirds. So 14-7 here in favor of Metamora.
Up by a touchdown and
there
an
you
extra
go.
point.
Looking forward to football tomorrow night,
Oh, yeah.
I can already tell. Received by the Redbirds as they'll send it over. Jones. Now the set and the kill goes too far by Georgia Duncan, so the point goes back to Metamora.
Yeah, Duncan just a little too strong, you know, off the hand, probably hit a little bit weird. Redbirds get the serve back.
Cronkite, the libero, on the serve, and that's a nice point there for Metamora.
Another error on Washington, reception error there. And Matt, one thing when a team hits so hard like Metamora does, fundamentals become that much more important. Wherever your hips are pointing, the ball will go. So Washington needs to make sure their hips are squared up when they're fielding those attacks.
Meanwhile, Jory Reagan Dowling picks up another kill for her Washington Panthers. We'll have a substitution here as it looks like Schulte will come back into the game. Jones will take a seat on the bench for Washington. Duncan on the serve. That one nearly falls but kept alive. Adams again with another kill there as it goes off the hands of Doty.
They've been going to the back row a lot. Washington's front row hasn't been able to get a piece of a lot of these attacks, and that's going to be one thing. If that continues throughout this first set and into the second set, it's going to be tough for Washington.
Targeting the back row indeed. This time it goes off of Reagan Dowling, and Metamora picks up another point as that lead goes up to 10 and forces a timeout.
I think that's a good timeout by Washington, Matt. We've talked a lot about these unforced errors, and sometimes you just need to take a deep breath, kind of reset things, and see if they can put together a comeback here to end this first set.
And if you're the Metamora bench right now and head coach Tara Ballard, you know, you're closing in on this first set. You got a comfortable lead. What are you telling your team in that huddle?
Well, just stay up, stay energized. You know, it's a big rivalry against Washington. I don't even think she has to tell her players, stay up, stay energized, just stay focused more than anything. You know, you're going to have a few attack errors, you're going to have a few reception errors here and there. You just got to be sure to stay focused, and if they stay focused, it's going to be tough for them to lose this one.
We've seen Washington rattle off a few points in a row, but overall Metamora has controlled this first set. Just barely kept alive by the Redbirds, but that thing had some power on it. Sammy Schultz back in the game and making a difference.
Oh, she certainly is, and you can tell they'll run the set right to her. Nice attack from the outside and some positive momentum for the Panthers.
Reagan Dowling on the serve. Metamora forced to send it over on a free ball. Kill manages to find its way to the floor as Claire McDougall picks it up.
There we go. We see one attack to the outside to Schulte and then back to the middle for McDougall. Washington's finding its rhythm.
A couple of nice points out of the timeout as they'll look to keep it going. And that one will go. Wow, just found its way inside the corner on the service ace by Reagan Dowling.
That's just about as close as you can get. We don't have instant replay here on Clutch Sports Media, but I'd like to see another look at that one. Oh, so close.
Much needed point for Washington, who's rattled off 3 in a row out of the timeout. And Metamora puts an end to that as it looked like it was Esma Frieden on the kill there.
It was indeed. Worked it to the outside. Metamora not getting too high, not getting too low. They're staying consistent with the mental game tonight. And like I said in the timeout, you know, you can't get too frustrated with mistakes, and they weren't rattled by that little Washington run.
Panthers, big kill there, and that one falls. Schulte again, who's making a difference after coming off the bench, as she's picked up a couple of kills here in this first set.
Panthers certainly not out of this first set yet, Matt.
No, they're not. They're not going away. They've cut the lead down to 7 here. Redbirds send it over. Kinley will get it ready. Blocked at the net as that one falls. A combo block up front. Looked like for Metamora, we can tell Teller was in there. And I believe one more as well. Looked like Frieden as well.
Got that good size up front. Frieden, the 5'11 freshman. Teller, the 5'10 junior.
Washington will tap it over. Kept alive on the outside. This one goes too long by Kayla Pesha, and a point for Washington. Was keeping it alive here in this first set.
Yeah, that deficit is just kind of hung right around 7 for the entire first set. Now it's just a matter of, can they get it down? They're running out of points, though.
Georgia Duncan back in the game for Washington. Blocked at the net, or it looked like it was, but instead it will fall, and a big point there for the Redbirds.
Was blocked, but Panthers just couldn't keep it alive.
21-13 the score. We saw an 11-3 lead as well, so Metamora keeping pace, or Washington rather keeping pace with Metamora.
Miscommunication there.
Indeed, as they send it over on the free ball. That one falls in the back row. Delaney Davis just wasn't quite ready for it there.
That's right, Matt, and you see the kill from Domini there from the middle, capitalizing on Washington mistakes. We talked about that miscommunication. You know, bad passes forced Washington out of system to hit it over. And the Redbirds they've capitalized on that.
Rare service error here from the Redbirds. So this will go back to Washington. Davis will come out of the game and be replaced by Reagan Dowling, who's back in, as well as Anna Doty, the junior, who will serve it here for Washington. Received by the Redbirds. Set over there by Peplow, and another point for Washington. They're just not going away.
No, absolutely not. Georgia Duncan was having none of that. Return to sender.
Another serve here from Doty. She's been serving a lot for Washington when she's been in the game. That one just tapped over, and it did find its way inbounds, and so Metamora with a much-needed point.
They just tapped that one over the entire defense, falling right on the back line. That was a beautiful hit.
Dylan Camp into the game now for Metamora, the defensive specialist, who will serve it here for the Redbirds. Duncan off the serve, blocked at the net. That was, looked like McKinley was trying to send it over, but a duo block at the net there for Metamora.
And Metamora, they are fired up right now. You can tell they're vibing, as the kids like to say. They've got their mojo going right now.
Set point for the Redbirds. Blocked at the net, nearly fell, kept alive by Duncan. Now McKinley on the outside, and that one will find its way in bounds once again. Another point as Washington stays alive.
Bit of a standing attack from McKinley there, going cross court. Nice kill.
Down by 8, Panthers will need to rattle off 8 in a row to try and keep this thing alive. Off the hands of a Washington player in front, Gillespie, and that will do it for the first set, Larry, as the Metamora Redbirds take it 25-16.
Yeah, Matt, it was kind of Metamora from start to finish. They came out to the hot start. I think it was 4-1, and the Panthers were really never able to come back from that. We'll see how the Panthers come out in set number 2. I'm really interested in that because, like we said in the open, Washington hadn't lost a set in 2 matches until now, and they have not played a 3-set match this year. So if this thing gets to 3, I'll be interested to see how the Panthers handle it. One could say maybe they're due. So we'll see how they respond to that first set loss.
I think one of the biggest things, and we both kind of reflected on this a little bit in the first set, was that the momentum was just not there for Washington in that first set. Had a couple of points, just couldn't really tie it all together.
That's right, Matt. And it's a game of runs. You know, basketball, volleyball, you know, that's kind of a universal saying.
Want to remind you that tomorrow night we will have another high school football matchup for you on Clutch Sports Media as the Washington Panthers will battle the Dunlap Eagles. Saw Dunlap last week, of course, in the season opener, and excited for that one tomorrow, Larry. I believe you'll be on the call for that game.
It'll be Joey and John Camosa.
Oh, okay,
so
there you go. But
switcheroo in the booth, you know, it doesn't matter. You know, good football all around.
That's right.
Looking forward to listening in on that one. I think I'll be at the controls listening to the broadcast. So we hope that fans at home will join us. Those Washington fans watching, bookmark clutchsportsil.com.
6 p.m. start tomorrow for Washington and Dunlap as week 2 of the high school football season gets underway. So we hope you can join us for that one. Meanwhile, back here at Metamora, a first set victory for the visiting Redbirds, 25-16. And looking at the way that the schedule has gone for Metamora this year, they have played a couple of 3-set matches against Morton and IVC. Pekin, they won 2-0. Also won 2-0, we believe, as well against Dunlap. So this is not unfamiliar territory. They like being in front, and they'll try and close it down here in the second set.
Yeah, of course. Those 2-set victories, especially against the conference rival, are all the more sweeter. You know, you got to work a little less.
That's right.
Pick up those 2-set victories, and that's not to say that those 3-set victories aren't fun as well, because you know, whenever it goes that extra set, the intensity ramps up a little bit. But whenever you're in a rivalry, it sort of feels like 3 sets throughout all 3 sets, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you talk about rivalries in the Mid-Illini Conference. You got rivalries really all over the place, but I think if you had to say to a random group of people around the area, what's the best one? I think Washington Metamora, absolutely.
Oh, without a doubt.
So here we go, second set underway. Metamora on top 1-0. And the first point of the second set will go to the Redbirds, who get the block there in the front.
Block by Kelsey Todd. It looked like the senior getting in on that one. That's one thing that we saw a lot in the first set, a lot of blocks.
Dug out by Davis here to begin the second point. McKinley. Again, that block in front by Metamora. On the outside, just barely dug out there by Schulte. And just a little bit of a mishit from McDougal, who was trying to send it over. Instead, it goes right into the net.
She got on top of it a little bit, Matt. Didn't catch that one exactly near the apex where you want to hit it, but that's what happens when your offense gets a little out of system.
Duncan sent over and kept alive by Metamora off the hands up front of McDougal. Now Washington, and this has looked like a double hit maybe, and so it will be a point for Metamora.
Another unforced error, and what do you know? The momentum sticks with the Redbirds to start set number 2, just like set number 1.
Miscommunication there at the front by Washington, and Metamora, just like they did in the first set, off to a good start here in the second.
It kind of comes down to those unforced errors, Matt. Whenever you get those, like we were talking about in set number 1, it's definitely a downer. So the sooner you can snap out of it, the better, and there's a start.
Big point there, as that was Sammy Schulte on the kill, her third of the contest so far, as she will come off. So far, looking at the kill leaders on the floor for Metamora, Domini has 4 right now. Or I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong number there. I was looking at the Washington side. That would be, of course, looks like Reagan Dowling. Now Metamora on the serve. Blocked up front. Looked like it was played off the net, and a point there for Washington, much needed.
Certainly, and now they're starting to get a little momentum back. It would be huge if the Panthers, or for the Panthers, if they could put together a bit of a run and come back and take the lead in this set number 2. They didn't lead in set number 1, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. They did not lead, and certainly like to do so in here. The fake kill attempt, and that is another point for Washington, and they are looking good.
They really are.
So for these next few points, we'll turn our mics down and listen to the sounds of the game. So there you go, your sounds of the game as we turn down our mics and just let the atmosphere take over. And big thanks to Joey Wright for helping that. Of course, inspired by his very favorite NASCAR and the Fox Crank It Up.
Yes.
And I like that. I think it's great to have that aspect, especially in a gym like this.
Oh, yeah. Whenever you're talking volleyball, you're talking a sport of noise, of momentum, of not even crowd noise, but just teams making noise, and that's what it's all about, the atmosphere.
Meanwhile, at this moment, Washington was down by just one, and a service error by the Panthers has forced the ball back to Metamora, so a 2-point lead for the Redbirds here in set number 2.
Yeah, and while we were cranking it up, so to speak, Panthers came back and tied it.
They did.
Big for momentum, but Metamora responding well.
Here's Duncan almost getting it to fall, and a diving effort that time, and Washington gets the point. Georgia Duncan.
Who else? She's riding the wave, helping the Panthers get some momentum back.
Substitution here as we will get it here. Looks like Schulte's going to come back in for Tarina Jones, who will take a seat on the Washington bench. Duncan on the serve here for Washington. Good kill there from Sophie Adams, diving effort in the back row, but Adams with the kill. (9-7) your score here in set 2. Good start for the Redbirds, has been halted by some of the recent momentum from the Panthers. In the back, that one hits the ceiling, it looked like. They're still going to play it, and instead it goes into the stands, and a big point for Washington.
I don't think the officials caught that.
I don't think they did
usually
either.
They blow it dead when the ball hits the ceiling, but just barely scraped it, maybe by a hair.
Reagan Dowling on the serve, dug out, and it looks like we're going to have a double hit here against the Redbirds. And so once again, we have a tie set here, as it's much needed for Washington.
Yes, critical point in the match.
Dowling on the serve, handled in the back row by Camp. Free ball sent over. Now McKinley, tapped over, kept alive by Washington. Duncan. Redbirds keep it alive, and this is going to be another double hit against the Redbirds, and that's a couple times in a row here for Metamora.
Yes, indeed, and now it's the Panthers' first lead of the evening.
Reagan Dowling will serve it again. At the net, kept alive for a moment by McKinley, and Metamora has tied it up at 10.
Quinn Gillespie trying for the pancake dig there, couldn't quite get it.
Been a great second set here so far, 10-10. It started 5-0 in favor of the visiting Redbirds. Blocked at the net, a combo there for Metamora of Hannah Teller and Sophie Adams, who were right there.
Yep, Metamora starting to swing things back their way, and that's kind of how the second set has been. You mentioned the 5-0 run by the Redbirds, and then Washington surged back with their very own 5-0 run, and now the Redbirds starting to put something together as kind of the pendulum swings back the other way.
Good effort that time from Gillespie, but unfortunately just ran out of real estate. So Metamora will serve again as they've rattled off the last 3 points. Now McKinley. Free ball sent over by McDougal. Redbirds sent over. Good dig rather by McKinley, and a point for Washington, halting that momentum once again.
Both sides looked out of system there, Matt. A number of awkward passes and sending the ball over on 2 hits and a little too strong on the digs, and Washington able to capitalize.
Gillespie on the serve, and that one just went right off the fingertips of Dylan Camp in the back row.
Reception error there, and what do you know, back even.
Back and forth we go. Knotted up at 12 in set number 2. Of course, if you're just joining us, Metamora won the first set pretty easily, 25-16. That one falls again for the Redbirds in a 1-point lead, 13-12.
That's the first kill of the evening for Hannah Teller, player that Metamora Athletic Director Jared Hart told us would be very involved with the offensive attack.
Victoria Hall now in for Metamora. Right at the net. This is McDougal kept alive on the outside, and that one falls. Nice kill on the outside. Looked like it was Kelsey Todd.
Kelsey Todd going to the back corner. They went to the back row so much in that first set, and it really worked out for them, and they go back to it now. It gets them a 2-point lead.
Off the serve. Good effort from Gillespie. And dug out in the back row by Metamora. Now sent over. Duncan keeps it alive. McKinley blocked at the net. And once again, that combination for Metamora. Hannah Teller, Kelsey Todd comes up big.
Now you feel that momentum and the energy shift back in the gym to the Redbirds with that 3-point lead now.
On the serve is Hall, and this one is going to go out of bounds, so Washington gets the point.
Service error there, and some substitutions for the Panthers.
Washington now will serve it away as this is Tarina Jones. Tap near the net, and this will be another point for Washington. They just get it to fall. Georgia Duncan was right there.
Yeah, she was ready for it to come over. Metamora thought the sequence was blown dead, but it wasn't. So the ball dropped, and Washington able to pick up the point. More Metamora mistakes.
Good heads-up awareness there by Washington. A diving effort by Jones. The freshman with a good idea, just couldn't get it over the net there.
Yeah, certainly diving effort. Sometimes you just got to do whatever you can to keep the ball in the air, and Jones couldn't keep the ball in the air.
Duncan will play it here for Washington. McKinley with a big kill there. That thing had some force on it from the senior.
Certainly nobody there to stop that one. Good set, even better kill.
That will cut the lead for Metamora down to just 1 here, 16-15 here in the second set. And Washington only had 16 points in that first set, so they have already almost reached that number here in set number 2. That one can't get over the net, and there you go, the 16th point for Washington.
Yeah, Matt, I guess it just took some time for them to settle in. They've played much better in this second set, and in that first set, you know, it's a lot of pressure. Rivalry match, young team. It's going to be prone to a few mistakes, but they've really settled in. I've been impressed.
Doty. Now that mishandled again by the Redbirds, and all of a sudden here, Larry, Washington has started to get things going their way, and they're looking good.
They are looking good, and a few Redbird mistakes don't hurt the cause.
Doty will serve it over. Redbirds on the outside, and that one just barely stays in bounds as Kayla Pasha picks up a much-needed kill.
She's been quiet in this second set. She's up to 4 kills on the evening now, and whenever she touches the ball's coming hot off of her hand.
just dug out, tapped at the net, and it's like a net violation here from Washington's Quinn Gillespie, and it goes back to Metamora once again. 18-17 lead for Metamora as we play late into the second set. Reagan Dowling, too much force on that one as it goes out of bounds.
Panthers got to be careful, start getting near that 20-point mark of the second set. Sooner rather than later, it's going to be match point, and it looks like Dawn Davis is going to take a timeout. I like this timeout, Matt. Good timing. Like I said, getting close to that 20-point mark. You don't want to let this thing get out of hand too fast, and Panthers have had a few mistakes, and the Redbirds are clicking offensively, running that attack through Paisha. So we'll see how both these teams respond out of the break.
You know, you mentioned the timeout, and kind of surprised we haven't had one in this set just because it's been so back and forth and even. You thought maybe one of those coaches would call a timeout and talk things over, but they're saving it for later, and it looks like it's going to come down right to the wire here.
Yeah, both teams, I think, have just kind of been riding the wave a little bit. We've seen both teams with a lot of momentum. In the second set, we go back to the start of it. Metamora starts 5-0. Washington comes back with 5 straight points of their own, so why kill the momentum?
Here's McKinley, that one off the hands of Domini. Off the net and gets it to fall. Metamora out of the timeout, extends their lead to 3.
Just off the fingertips of a few Panthers there. A lot of the time they've been able to get a piece of it at the net, but they just haven't been able to recover and keep the ball in the air.
In the back row, Jones keeps it alive. Duncan slams it home. Inbounds. Nice kill there from the veteran Georgia Duncan.
Junior going down the line. It's another attack that's hard to stop.
McKinley on the serve here for Washington. On the outside, that'll go just a little bit too far. And attack here there for the Redbirds. Washington will take advantage.
Good job by Washington not touching that ball. It was close. You can tell it was going to be close, but they were able to see that that one was a little too strong.
Great dig there by McKinley as it goes over the net and tapped over in front by Duncan. Great awareness once again by her.
Free ball up in the net, up in the air. That strong attack from the middle for Washington has proved to be a big difference maker.
McKinley sends it over on the serve. We are evened up at 20. Coming down the home stretch here in set 2. Here's Duncan. Dug out there by Cronkite. McKinley once again keeping it alive. Here's Duncan on the outside, and that'll be out of bounds, a point for Metamora.
She tried to go back down the line where she went on her last kill that looked really good. She was close there. I think she was looking for a Redbird to reach out and tip that one at the net. It didn't happen, and Redbirds back with a 1-point lead.
21-20 for Metamora. On the outside, that one is once again too far by Reagan Dowling, and a couple of attack years here have forced a timeout for Washington.
They tried to get the slide attack to go. Reagan Dowling a little too strong, trying to go cross court, and a good timeout. Dawn Davis doesn't have much of a choice approaching match point.
So 22-20 as we come down the stretch here. And Larry, Redbirds are in the driver's seat right now. But, I mean, we've seen Washington. They have not gone away no matter how big that deficit is.
No, they haven't. And both in the first set and here in the second set, they have reacted well to timeouts. Dawn Davis probably has that calming presence in the huddle, veteran coach in her 17th season at the helm for the Panthers. So she knows what to say.
She does indeed. A longtime coach here at Washington. And great awareness in the back row there by Tarina Jones. Let it fall to go out of bounds, and a point for Washington.
Can't afford to let the other team get away with mistakes, especially late in a match, late in the set here. Washington able to get the serve back.
Duncan will serve it over. Redbirds at the front, kept alive for a moment. McKinley unfortunately mishandles it for her, but another point for Metamora, 23-21, as we get a couple of late substitutions here for Metamora. Dylan Camp back into the game for the Redbirds as she'll serve it. Again, goes out of bounds. Duncan a smart play to let it go.
Got to be disciplined down the stretch. It's easy to think, oh, you know, I want to be better safe than sorry, but got to trust your eyes when you're trying to read those serves.
Reagan Dowling now on the serve for Washington. 23-22. McKinley just gets it to float, and good awareness again by Metamora, letting that one fall. Unfortunately for McKinley, nothing she can do there.
Yep, absolutely not, and that's what you get with those hard attacks.
So we're going to get one more substitution here for Washington. Leah Jones will come in, another one of the basketball players. Kendall McKinley will come out. Dug out. Panthers keep it alive. Tapped over by Schulte, and a much-needed point for Washington as they kept that alive. That would have been the match right there.
It would have been, and now with one more, this one will likely go beyond 25 points here in set two. It's been well contested all set long.
Washington will serve it over. Metamora with a quick attack. Dug out by Jones. In the back row now, Duncan. Kept alive. Redbirds floated over. Free ball sent over by Gillespie. Adams. Now Gillespie. And another quick attempt on the kill. That one goes off the pole, and Washington has tied it at 24.
Oh boy, a long rally fitting at the end of set number two. Washington's fired up.
So much needed. And a timeout here for the Redbirds as we are all knotted up at 24 apiece, Larry. And you figured with the way that Washington was trending in that second set that we were going to find ourselves right in this very position.
Yeah, of course. You figured it was going to take more than 25 points to seal the deal here in set two. Just the way that the momentum has shifted, you know, just when you feel like Metamora had this one in hand, Panthers come roaring back, and that's how this set number two has gone. Stark contrast to set number one when it was all Metamora.
They have certainly made some good adjustments here in set number two. Now have a chance to take the lead. On the serve, Gillespie. Handled in the back row by the Redbirds. Tapped over. Schulte sets it up. She'll tap it over once again. On the outside, dug out by Gillespie. McKinley back in the game, gets it to fall off the hands of Kelsey Todd, and a big point for Washington.
That's huge, and now it's set point for the Panthers.
Timeout here once again by Metamora. 25-24 lead for Washington. And you can just tell they are fired up over there on the bench.
Rightfully so, because like I said, it seemed like Metamora had the momentum coming down the stretch, and like I said, they reacted well out of another timeout. Washington was forced to burn its timeouts pretty much back-to-back, and now Metamora forced to do the same thing.
Washington trying to even this thing at one set apiece. They can do so with a win on this point. Gillespie. Metamora in the back and mishandled by Duncan. Metamora has tied it at 25.
Just when you think the Panthers have it in hand, it goes back the other way. I sound like a broken record, but it's just been such an entertaining set to watch.
Crowd starting to come alive a little bit here too at the Tepke Gymnasium. Metamora's Victoria Hall to serve it here. McKinley handles that one. On the outside, tapped over, and is it going to be inbounds or out of bounds? Out of bounds, point Metamora. Washington thought they had it there, Larry.
I thought they did too. We don't have the best angle to see that far left line there, but it was sure close.
Hall sends it over as McKinley handles it off the serve. Duncan across. Now on the outside, off the net, and that will do it. Metamora gets the point, and that will be the match as the Redbirds come alive at the closing stages of the second set and to win it in two straight.
What a battle it was, Matt. I really fully expected this one to go three the way that Washington played down the stretch. That's got to be a demoralizing loss for them, but they've got to be proud of how they played. And as for Metamora, just really weathering the storm of that second set. Like we said, they dominated set one. They really cruised to that first set victory. But in the second set, it was a lot of up and down, but they stayed consistent. And in the end, they were able to come out with the W.
A great match indeed, Larry. And, you know, if you're Washington, even though you didn't get the win, and you kind of alluded to this a little bit as well. You have to like the way, if you're head coach Don Davis, that your team played in the second set. They, of course, only scored 16 points in the first one and were able to get 25 in that second one. So it's signs of improvement like that that can go a long way in a short season like this.
Certainly, and whenever you lose to a good Metamora program, you know, you got to take that with a grain of salt. They're always going to be good, and that's the same thing if Metamora lost to Washington. You know, it's not like you lost to some very bad team. Both these programs have good traditions. You know, it really doesn't matter what sport it is. Neither of these schools are anything to scoff at. So, tough loss for the Panthers, but now it's all about who they can bounce back, how they can bounce back.
So that'll pretty much wrap up our coverage here from Metamora Township High School as the visiting the home team Redbirds come out with the win in 2 sets over the visiting Washington Panthers. For our entire Clutch Sports Media crew, Francisco Alonso on camera, Joey Wright on the controls, and of course Larry Larson, I'm Matt Harrington saying so long from Metamora Township High School.